Hey there, everybody. Dave here. Welcome to episode number 25 of Live Live on a special Tuesday. So we're coming to you 24 hours early. So hopefully that's not throwing anybody off. You can still watch it on Wednesday, but we're going to be live here on this Tuesday. So I'm really excited to be able to have Phil Reed here. Phil is the OG of building information modeling, everything tech and AEC continues to carry the torch on that. I don't even know where to begin talking about your accolades from things that you've written to companies that you've started. But will you give us kind of a overview of your progression to what you're doing now?
But first of all, next time you talk to Brad, ask him about his car. Ask Brad.
Phil, are you frozen?
No, I'm talking. Is it working? Bloop, 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 bloop.
Wait, you're talking?
I'm here. Yes.
Is it on my end?
You were a little glitchy at first. Now I'm back.
You're back. All right. Where did it all begin? You mentioned something about Brad.
Brad Novak. Ask him about his car. He has a very special
Carmen Ghia?
No.
Oh, he has the Smokey and the Bandit.
Yeah, the old 76 Trans Am Firebird. He loves it. And he goes to meetups where people
and he had, yeah, and he had a Carmen Ghia. And you know the other car he had before those two?
What was that?
It was a Pontiac Aztec. The worst car ever made.
The worst car ever.
He loved that car. It was like an Aztec. The Walter White mobile.
Look, that was the car that the first guy on Survivor, remember he won all that money and got a Pontiac Aztec. And I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Well, I remember, I think it was maybe it was on the Daily Show or something. And he won a Pontiac Aztec. When he asked what the first thing he's going to do, he said, sell the Aztec.
It didn't.
All right, Phil. So
anyway, okay. So background.
Yeah. What's your background? Yeah.
Look, I'll go quick. I went to seminary for 4.5 years. And my background was in kind of art and creativity. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Taught math for a while at private school, got out of the country, went to New Zealand, got married, worked as a commercial artist, and went, okay, time to get serious. I had a roommate at seminary who'd studied law, and I was trying to go between law, architecture, and medicine. So I'm like studying for the LSAT, studying for the MCAT. And then, but architecture was like right there too. And I talked to my roommate from seminary who had gone into law and was doing well. And he said, yeah, it's terrible. Don't do it. And his dad was a contractor. We used to work in his dad's construction company in the summer. I said, what are you talking about? You got a good life, good wife, good house. And he goes, yeah, I wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and think I'm going to ruin someone's life today to make a living. It's depressing. So I was like, okay, medicine's not really portable. You go to another country, you got to start over. Law sounds like it's not fun. So I'd already gone to after I graduated from college, I went to a local community college and got a background in CAD. I loved it. And I thought, oh, this is kind of cool. And I studied and submitted my portfolio to Taliesin, and I got accepted. And then come to find out, you can't work outside of the fellowship. And so I was looking at borrowing money for 7 years to pay them to work for them as a apprentice. And I was just like, I can't do this. I don't want to borrow money to go back to school. And then it also turned out at that time, Taliesin was not accredited. They lost their accreditation. I was hard.
No, is this West? Is this Arizona or?
Well, I don't know if they still move east and west, but
okay.
I think I was in communication with the Wisconsin studio.
Wisconsin.
So I submitted all my technical stuff and my background from, my previous degree and my technical background. I was like, I want to come to your school. And I found out I wasn't accredited and I couldn't work outside of the fellowship. The only way I could go was to borrow money. And I was like, yeah, I don't want to borrow money. I was so despondent and heartbroken. So I had family in Raleigh, family in Fayetteville, family in Asheville. And I went, where is a college of architecture that's accredited? It was in Charlotte. So I finished their 4-year degree. And then I start my 4th year, I started the master's program that they initiated. And I finished my master's and undergrad degree in 5 years. And 2 years later, I was working the whole time I was at UNCC, working for an engineering firm in Charlotte. It was crazy hours. I would fantasize about sleep. And then, but I didn't have money and to go to school. And when I finished, probably within the first year of working in architectural practice, Revit came along. And a year later, I applied to go to work there. And, it was a rocket ship. Revit was, you get to, if you work on a couple of projects a year in practice, it's a good year. But I was working on a different project every week, so it was that was just great. And I think that's what creates a lot of relationships and so on. So that's where I got Revit. Yeah.
Was that before Autodesk owned Revit?
Yeah. That was February 5th, 2001. And I still have breakfast coffee with Dave Heaton, my manager at Revit. He was also my manager for a while at Autodesk, and we still catch up. We still chat. I'm still thankful. And then Autodesk came along, and then it was a rocket ship. We were sort of kicking the shins of the big gorilla. And the next thing, we got the seal of approval. Carol Barks was internally very adamant that Revit was the future, even though there were kind of mixed messages with the reseller channels and stuff. And Revit led to, eventually it was too much. I was traveling too much and I was stressed out, but I was there for like 8 years. Went to work for a large AEC firm and was involved in another startup that I got involved with and then worked with after I left that company. And eventually started my own practice with my nephew, Adam. But this is a meritocracy. Adam is brilliantly opinionated. He's not grumpy. He's just impatient. And he has a degree in architecture, computer science, and he's got his MBA. And I think it was probably July 1st, or he'll criticize me, June 1st, 2013. I called him and said, you ever want to go into business, start a consultancy? And he's like, why have you waited so long? I taught him how to use Revit when he was in middle school. So we work together, and he looks after the BIM services, on-demand consulting services, primarily for contractors, architects, and engineers. And then in 2015, I saw Enscape and helped those guys go to market. So I'm always looking like what's not trying to jump from rainbow to rainbow, but I think we kind of come to inflection points every 5 years or so. And there's a hype cycle with the inflection point. Do you remember when Revit first came out? It was all the hype cycle, BIM, BIM, BIM. What is BIM, 2D, 3D, 4D, infinity? And then I think for the last 5 years, or the last 10 years ago, it was like digital twins. And now it's, I don't know, AI and other stuff. I look at it with a background from seminary. You study a lot of philosophy. And I just look at it like, these are religious terms. Like BIM is a religious term, and people argue about they argue over definitions. Like I hate those things now. I can't, like digital twins, arguing about what AI is, arguing about what BIM is, 4D, 5D, infinity. But I think there's usefulness there. It's just, so now I have my own practice. I work primarily with the Chaos group, kind of one foot in the door I have a Chaos email. I've seen that through the merger with Chaos Group and Enscape. And then I still have my Reed Thomas email, because actually I'm not an employee. I'm an agent of Chaos and help those guys firsthand with their key accounts. And I'm kind of, always looking around, like what's interesting. So that's me.
Well, I think, and that was one reason I reached out, because you're our key account manager. I'm like, it just fascinates me that like Phil Reed is emailing me, because you've just been, and you've just been, and you respond like immediately. It's like you're always doing something.
Oh, there's a technique to that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to hear about that, unless you don't want to talk about it. And I definitely want to dig into AI too.
The biggest thing. So here's my hint to anyone that this has worked for me. This is how you get successful in business. You don't watch TV. You get up about 4 a.m., 5 a.m., and you get everything done by 9 o'clock. No one's pestering you. And then you wait by the computer for someone to go, I need help. And then you reach out to them and go, can you jump on a webinar right now? And they go, what? How can you do this? Normally it's like, hey, tomorrow afternoon. But the thing is, you can get 8 hours done uninterrupted in 4 hours easily. That's how you do it.
But you don't like to stay up late? I thought architects like to.
No, not really. I mean,
you just flip it.
sometimes.
But you like working when it's quiet and no one's bothering you or anything.
I don't like jet lag. So
Yeah.
if I stay up late and sleep in, like on the weekends, I get up at the same time. You just get up.
Yeah.
And I don't have time to watch TV. And I'll tell young students in school, whatever you make an hour, if you're going to watch TV for an hour, put that in a jar on the TV if it's that important to you. Like, don't let television become a time vampire.
I'm guessing you didn't see the finale of Landman then last Sunday night.
No, I will watch Rick and Morty. I'll watch Rick and Morty. That's a guilty pleasure. King of the Hill, the new series, King of the Hill. But I'll deliberately turn it on to watch it and then turn it back off. So it's not background noise. It's not people arguing. I call it red team versus blue team arguing on the news. In the other room, I'm like, if that were real people, I'd tell them to leave my house. So turn all that off.
Well, and I gotta go. I have to go backwards a little bit, and it might even be on my shelf somewhere. Mastering Revit Architecture was one of your. How many Revit books did you write?
Ooh, I think we did an intro book. We did a mastering book for a couple of years. That was with Eddie and James, and those guys are great. Eddie, I met Eddie in Kansas City. He was at BNIM, Eddie Kriegel, and then James Van de Zan. Very vivid memories of first meeting James at SOM. As we were starting to poke at the Trade Center project. And Eddie had been writing it with 2 other co-authors. It's a lot of work, like 1,200 pages between 3 people. It's still a lot of work. And we wrote for a couple of years. And what they don't tell you as a publisher, so the book cost, let's say the book cost $100 and the 3 co-authors split $3 for each book.
But how many were sold?
It was crazy. Did you know, like, if you sell 500 books, you show up on a radar of a publisher. So when we sold, I think we sold 20,000 books the first year. Our editor, Willem Nibby, he was like, oh, this is great. And I still get, I think I stopped in 2016 or something, 2015. I still get residual checks. Like at Christmas this year, I got $500. It's like, so I'm like, okay. But I still cash the check. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Because there's a lot of child stars from going back to TV shows that never got anything. So
no, so you get $500, and I mean we got a couple grand every year for a couple of years, and then it's sort of. But at Christmas, if you get a couple $100, it's like yay, free iPhone.
But there was 1 million Revit books out because of the hype. So everyone was putting out. Yours were the industry standard. They were really fun.
We tried to keep it fun. We did like Eddie and James are great. There was a chapter on Revit for film and stage with Brian Sutton, which had these crazy modeling techniques to the point that I'm trying to think who the publisher was. Wiley and Sons. They made that chapter like free. You could download that chapter and then you could click and buy the book. And
Well, and you'd have example models, right? I believe.
Oh, everything was downloadable.
You could download it all, but like the step-by-step, even the buildings in the tutorials that you guys had were super cool. Yeah. And they were just really intelligent in how they use so many of the, I don't know how to describe it. They were like just so comprehensive and helping you understand like what a curtain system is and all the components that go into a Revit model. And it makes you like really, it makes you understand kind of the maker culture behind that model.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah. Digital maker culture. We were very open about, we had a technical editor. So we would write the chapter with Revit open, taking screenshots, and then it all went to a technical editor who had to not read through and go, yeah, I think that's right. But click, 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 click. Mm-hmm. And Adam, my business partner, Adam Thomas, was a technical editor on a couple of books. We actually worked with Don Bachmiller. in the consultancy. He has written those mastering Revit books, I think, for MEP or electrical. And so, yeah, everything was very rigorous. And so you have to write it, you have to document it, screenshot it, upload it, and then it still gets, piecemealed apart and language editing. And yeah, but you could download everything. And I've told students, even after architecture school, if they'll just get the current version of that book
Mm-hmm.
and do all of the assignments, like turn off the TV, 1,200 pages, you could probably do 10 pages a day. So 3 months, you do it over the summer after you graduate, go through every click, 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 do the assignments, don't read through it, like open it up and go through it. You'll get a premium after you graduate in employment. Just turn the TV off. I think it's very comprehensive. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, it really gets down to the fundamentals, and you do enough of those exercises, and the light bulb goes off. Of like you get it, you understand the software, you understand the parametrics, you understand the family building, and the layers that can go into that, because it's a really overwhelming piece of software when you first open it and don't know where to start. If you come from the CAD world or even the SketchUp world or any
Look, even if you come from architecture school and they're not letting you, it's kind of it's a big objection of mine that architecture schools don't teach people to use the tools that they're going to use in practice. I think it just puts them at a huge economic disadvantage. 5 years of learning to design, and then you get out and find out you have to solve problems. They already have a designer. Thank you very much. And he's way more experienced than you. So getting through school and learning how to use a tool rigorously. And as a parallel to that, like I can't imagine anyone going through 5 years of music school and not learning to play an instrument. And I had professors and deans tell me early on, this was before Autodesk even got acquired, we don't teach students to use software. We like to teach them to think. And I thought, well, that's you can also learn how to think with software. So the thing about the book is the way Eddie and I and James discussed it is there's kind of an overview to the interface, like where to find things, but ultimately it's about the building, the content, the documentation, and then multi-user workflow. Those are the big pieces. If you learn how the building pieces work, you learn how to create your own content so that you don't have to wait, or by the time you try to download it and find it, you can't find the right one. So building content, documentation, instructions, and multi-user workflow. That's it.
And that's another piece that I always liked about the software itself is you couldn't really cheat. It forced you to understand how things were put together and constructed. Because you're dealing with assemblies, you're dealing with a wall. A wall is a wall. It's not just two lines. What is that wall made of?
Sometimes you don't know. I mean, at least Revit makes you choose. Is it a wall?
Mm-hmm.
Is it a floor? Is it a roof? Is it a ceiling? Is it a stair? Is it a railing? Like you can't, even in the family editor, you have to choose. And that I think the hard part is sometimes people want to choose something that isn't resolved yet. And every good template has generic assets and their color
we have
codes.
generic everything. Yeah.
So you could design with stuff and then swap it out later. So it teaches you to think about how something goes together, but it also teaches you to think about how something might change. So when you're building a piece of content, if it needs to flex appropriately, like I would say the insertion point for a bed, a piece of furniture should be the back of the headboard and centered. So if it flexes, right, it becomes a different size bed. It should hold its relationship to the wall. So you're trying to think about how the relationships are going to be maintained when you're building content, when you're building the building. And those are really like understanding how things change, give you a kind of predictable edge. That's the kind of thing, like I think in architecture school, understanding how things change so that they're flexible and so that you understand the relationships, that can be taught with software. And it's okay, they teach Rhino and other stuff, but Rhino and SketchUp as generic modelers don't force you to think about the relationship between things and how things change. In my estimate, I know Revit has a steeper learning curve, but once you get past it, I think it gets easier. Whereas I think something like SketchUp, which is a beautiful tool, I love those guys, it has a shallow learning curve. But when the roof slope changes, you're untangling wet spaghetti. It's a mess. So if you can get,
Yeah, you
if you
start
can do,
over. Yeah.
yeah, I think sometimes you should, well, there's a preference in software as a generalization. Um, People tend to like to use easy tools to do difficult things, whereas you can also learn to use a difficult tool to do an easy thing. And you just got to make the choice. At some point, if you use an easy tool to do a difficult thing, it becomes diminished returns. You just end up having to be a wizard and hacking things together. So, yeah.
Well, the way I've always thought about building a project in Revit is it starts with identifying what those relationships are in my head, and then a certain level of detail that you can build upon. So it's a really,
Yeah,
if
generic,
you
like you said,
just
generic walls, like
Mhm.
where do they go? What are the kind of the fundamentals for me is what is it, where is it, and how does it connect? Um, like they don't teach you that in school either. Like, what is it? Is it a wall? Is it a floor? Where is it? And how does it connect? Because that connection between two different things, you're going to have to create instructions there. And
Yeah, yeah, and we
so,
and I have a remodeling company. When we do, large scale remodeling, design,
right.
build, and
What kind of projects?
and additions.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I mean, significant projects. So probably the smallest project we'll do will be like $300,000. They're all pretty, sophisticated in their level of um, complexity and moving stuff around and relocating kitchens and moving stairs and
Right.
significant additions, kind of life altering home projects, not just plug
Right.
and play things. But our software of choice has always been Revit, and part of that is because that's the world that I came from, and I read all of your books and did all of your tutorials, so I conceptually understand it.
Right.
And it's a tool that is wildly robust for what we need to do, and we probably use about 2% of the power of it.
Right.
But there's a lot more potential that we can do with it, and I'm okay with that. Not using it to its full power in terms of schedules and things of that nature because
Yeah,
our projects move
that's
so
okay.
fast. Yeah.
Sometimes diminished returns, people trying to connect
Mm-hmm.
walls to complicated floor assemblies and join geometry. I'm like, you know what? You could just stop now and make a detail. You could just draw that instruction. It doesn't have to, you don't have to have it at 3 levels of detail. Um, Using it, we still have to create drawings. We still have to create rational
Yep.
instructions. And, but I think sometimes people get hung up on what they know, which is join geometry, click, 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 click. And you go, stop, get it close enough because it's going to change anyway. And then let's draw an instruction. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a hard balance to find. I remember, yeah, it's just, you got to find the point of diminished returns. When do you leverage the model? When do you leverage your institutional knowledge? Stop trying to overmodel. Like get it close enough to where you can maintain relationships between rooms and spaces and your schedules are correct. Depends.
Well, that kind
Again,
of
it's a
goes.
religious discussion. I
I
don't
was
want
going
to
to
get into
say
the
it goes in.
religion of it.
No,
Yeah.
it totally is. It goes into the philosophy of a whole new way of thinking, which was level of detail. The whole
Yeah.
LOD question of like how far do you go with this thing, and then it becomes the firm or the company's responsibility of like what line are we crossing, because we can do we can go as far as you want. We can do a full building simulation
Yeah.
if
Depends
you
on
guys want.
Yeah, it depends on what you're trying to leverage it for. And ultimately you're
Mm-hmm.
constrained by the client's resources. Um, so you have to decide when to stop. I think what's interesting in technology now, that a bit flip that's occurring, and it's another overused term like BIM and digital twins, is AI. And the reason I think it's going to be a a really big deal is not because it's a new technology; it's a return to first practices. So architects used to render in order to design. We would create beautiful elevations, beautiful perspectives without having everything else fully resolved, but we would create an emotional vision for the client. And they had the confidence that they could keep going, right? They could resolve the elevation, and things would change. That workflow of rendering in order to design, I think that shifted about 20 years ago, maybe more, with the advent of 3D modeling as it became more prevalent. So we started designing in order to render because, hey, we made this 3D model. We should leverage it for our renderings. The challenge is it's still important to render before you design. And that's where I think, as much as it's being overhyped, there will be an enormity of usefulness with rendering based on text prompts. And I think ultimately it's still transactional right now, just in a different way. But I think eventually it'll be very discussive, very interactive, and giving it enough information to give you emotional feedback to get a vector with the client and then start modeling. So I think we're going back to first practices of render in order to design. And that's
interesting.
I think that's why it's exciting for me. It's not because we're doing a new thing. It's because we're going back to doing an old thing. Which is actually the same thing with BIM. We used to build detailed models. There's a wonderful book called Architecture of the Miniature by Mark Morris. And he talks about the guilds and the process of making detailed scale models in order to help the customer understand the project. Like in some cases, they were almost fully inhabitable. You could walk through them. In other cases, they cut holes in the floor and you get underneath it and poke your head up and you could look around. It was a model. And I thought, oh, this is kind of what we're doing with Revit. We're building models in order to explain, in order to inhabit. And now with the rendering where it's going, I think giving enough of a gesture and a poetic description of what you're trying to create is a good vector. Get your buy-in. So imagine it's going to be very different in 5 years, I think. We used to create a very detailed model with very detailed materials, and then you render it, and then you go, well, I want a variation. Okay, well, let's change all of the detail, change the materials and the models. Okay, create another variation, and then undo, or close without saving because you want to keep the main one that you really like. And doing that in Revit with design options would be fucky. So you don't want to create design options to create walls, to create new materials in the wall. But I think what's going to happen with AI is we're starting now again to render in order to design. And then we're going to give the design enough information. So you might start with the exterior, or I could see where you start with an interior. And you don't mass up the casework in the kitchen in detail. You mass up enough of it in place, and then you render it with poetic text prompts. And when you get on a vector, then you say, okay, now I'm going to start designing the casework and in more detail. But you don't design it in order to render it. You'll model enough, or maybe just sketch enough in order to design, and then memorialize the design decision inside of something like Revit. So,
yeah. Are there any AI tools that are currently out there that you think do the best with architectural visualization?
I like Veris. They've just integrated Nano Banana.
Veris.
I like Veris. Veris. It was an acquisition. The guys of LivLive, Bill and Ben and Dave and those guys, they were acquired by Chaos this spring or last spring. So now Veris, it was a stable diffusion, a wrapper on stable diffusion. They've just implemented Nano Banana, and you could choose between them, but you have a consistent UI. And the thing that I really like about Veris is it's integrated in Enscape, it's integrated in the design tool, and it's on the web. So for people that know how to design but don't know how to model, they could use Veris and an elegant text prompt. So I like it for that case. The other thing about AI for rendering and how the Venn diagram expands is 30 years ago, rendering was for people that knew how to model and knew how to render. And that was a small group of people that were wizards and specialists. Then 10 years ago, something like Enscape was for people who knew how to model but didn't know how to render. You were just validating what was in your design file. You just pushed a start button. And so that circle, let's say it grew by 10x. If there were 10,000 people in the world that knew how to model and render with a very sophisticated tool like V-Ray or 3D Max. It went from 10,000 people to 100,000 people. And then now with AI, it's for people that don't know how to model and don't know how to render, but they know how to sketch and describe. And that's what we do. We get interns together, and the senior designer sketches and iterates and discusses, and they have back and forth, and someone's taking notes. And that kind of analog process is just being captured with AI, where you're still describing and sketching, but now it's a text prompt. So I think that's why it's going to go another 10x or even more in the design space, because now you don't have to know how to model to start. And that'll be pretty useful.
Well, then, of course, the next question is, when do people no longer need an architect or a designer to sketch and describe?
No. That's a good point. And let me go back one too, because I want to point I think some other things I like in terms of visualization. I like Veris, and there's lots of good ones out there. I like Magnific for upsampling, and something called Magnific has a style transfer where you can take a style of an image and apply it to another image. I think Veris is going to be getting this kind of technique as well. I like Grok for discussions. So as I'm driving in the Tesla, I'm listening to a podcast, and the podcast mentions a book. And I pause the podcast and ask Grok to give me an executive summary of this book. And then as that summary is coming along, I'm going, oh, that's an interesting idea. Well, what would someone who objects to that idea, how would they position or frame it? And I like that kind of discussive approach in Grok. For creating materials and images, I like ChatGPT. And you could take a very poor photo of a material and ask ChatGPT, describe this material elegantly and poetically, and then create a seamless texture 2048 by 2048 suitable for rendering. And in a minute or two, you'll get a beautiful texture containing hardware. And if you don't know how to create a text prompt, take a photo of something and say, describe this image, and then take that image and apply it to the rendering that you want to create. Again, it's kind of a style transfer. And we do that anyway. In architecture school, it's called precedence. You go to the library, you read magazines, and then you try to take the metaphor of the design and apply it to what you're working on, or leverage a piece of it. So I just wanted to mention those. Those are my three favorite tools. Okay. And then you had a question after that. I apologize, Dave.
No, I was just curious of when the AI no longer, or people no longer need the sketch and the description to the level prompting gets that we don't need to be involved anymore.
I don't think that's ever going to happen. And I'll tell you why. It's the same reason we have lawyers. If AI could figure it out, we wouldn't need lawyers, because there's only one answer. And I think the reality is, the thing about AI that we have to give the people that run the business above us, we have to stop giving them jargon and help them understand the concepts and the principles so that they can frame their expectation. Because I don't think AI is going to take people's jobs. I think the jobs are going to come with it. So if you're a young student right now and you can leverage these tools in order to be more facile, and not to go fast, but to be able to go slow, to be more thoughtful. I think in every compute iteration, and compute right now we're on the edge of not being so transactional. So when you wanted something to happen in your design tool, you move your mouse and click on a button. And what AI is doing is kind of a fuzzy version of that, where you ask for something and then you get it kind of 9/10 of the way there. And the only way to finish it or to tweak it, that final, what we call the last mile, is you have to be able to know how to do it. You have to be able to apply your judgment. And if you don't know how to apply judgment, you're kind of stuffed. So if you create a beautiful image and you go, well, I like everything there, except can we move these people over here? You're like, yeah, you got to go to Photoshop. Well, if you don't know how to use Photoshop, AI doesn't help you. If you get a beautiful image and then you don't know how to model it, or you don't know how to apply judgment, I think that's the really critical thing. And any tool in this fuzzy kind of less transactional environment You have to be able to, it's like with people. You can't just give them an instruction and they come back with a perfect answer. They have to go away and work on it, come back, and then you have a discussion. And that's where I think it's not going to replace the architect. It's not going to replace accountability. I mean, even the tools we have now, read the EULA, you do a structural analysis, you're still a structural engineer. You're still accountable for the design. The software doesn't remove your accountability. So I think that's where these, AI is an overused term. I use the term architectural intern. It's like you got 20 billion architectural interns and you say, go to the library and find me something and come back by the end of the month. Oh no, come back in a minute. And then you have a plethora of feedback. And that just goes with lots of things with AI. I think our biggest challenge with AI is that we always feel threatened that the machine that we build is going to usurp our value. That goes back to, manufacturing a few hundred years ago, making shoes and cloth, and what's going to do to the home industries. That always happens. We always wonder if we're going to create the next Skynet in T2000. But the other thing is that we always are going to be accountable for judgment, because where someone thinks about the composition, there's lots of ways to do it, but they're going to have their say. So I don't think it's going to replace good plot. It's not going to replace good ideas. It's not going to replace good judgment. So on balance, I'm optimistic about it. And there's a lot of sloppy shit with AI, right? It seems to be the latest buzz to make cat photos and put bikinis on people. It's like, to me, it's like bread and circuses. You can do so much more interesting stuff when you can have a discussion. Like, imagine you had a companion, a travel companion, an assistant, and you could ask them a question and they're next to you in the car. You could ask them a question. They go, hold on, I've got this library from the beginning of history. Let me think about that for a moment. Okay, here's what I think. And have a discussion. It's like not bread and circuses. It's a little more comprehensive, a little more useful. So I think we're on a cusp of that, because right now AI is very transactional, in the sense that if you're in Revit and you want a rendering, you have to manually assign all these materials, and you have to push the button, and you have to say high level of resolution, or even an Enscape. You open up Enscape and you make sure your materials and your lighting, everything looks perfect, and you push render. And that's what's going to shift. Because when you render, you get a final result and you go, I wish I'd changed that thing. And you tweak it and push the render button again. And instead of taking overnight or 4 hours, now it takes a minute. But It's not quite a discussion, right? It's not like, hey, I really like this, but this tree, could you just move it over a little bit to the right? And these people and this material, what if we went with this other material? Where it's really like, I don't think it's going to be me and AI. I think it's going to be a group of people talking about it and seeing these multiple iterations. And that's more of a, if you're on Twitter and you're not following Brian Romali, you should. He talks about voice-driven compute, where you're having that kind of discussion. And it's weird because even like on Star Trek, computer, and then you tell it what to do. The computer's not going, hey, I know how to get out of this situation. You guys should do this thing. Okay, just do this thing and get us out of it. They always have to tell it what to do. And I think that's where we're still going to be telling it what to do. It's just going to be a little more iterative. And right now, even now, the AI is very transactional. You come up with a prompt, you click the button, you tweak the prompt, you click the button.
Yeah, I love the kind of conversational philosophy behind it. I think another place where it's really interested me is its just ability to understand patterns. So if it studied me on a daily basis and just understood like what time I'm going to come into the room and have my lighting and my shades adjusted properly, it's predicting behavior. I think is where it can get really kind of fun and interesting.
We have these. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm just excited about it. I'm sorry. Keep going.
Yeah. And you take all that data and all the sensors that can exist, and then throw that into an AI that it can start to plan, prepare, help make your life easier without you having to prompt it or say anything about it. is kind of a cool, intriguing aspect of.
I think being constrained by time and space the way we are, our client can't stand next to us all the time and going, what if we do a little more of this as opposed to that, right? We have these kind of moments every week or in some set sequence where we have these meetings and kind of go through at a good stopping point. Mm-hmm. I'm surprised that no one's created a way for the client's predispositions to be captured as an agent so that I can query my version of the client and get a vector based on A/B testing or look at these images. We do this now anyway. Mm-hmm. We just don't capture it in an environment that's more interactive. The way we do it now is we meet with a client and we talk about their project and talk about their ideas and what they want to accomplish and why they're doing the project, right? All we're building is a language model in a way. I mean, I'm using this as a sloppy metaphor, but we're building it for our brains. So as we work, we can place things and give things material and illuminate them in a way that satisfies our own desire to be creative and also satisfies the client's desire. So I would like to have this in my project. And you could take any image that you have, put it into Chat GPT and say, critique this in the persona of somebody else. And it'll savage you. Or it'll go, oh, this is amazing. So I would like to be able to, I think it would be interesting to be able to have that have your client's persona. And you know what it's like balancing relationships, right? Where your client is more than one person and one person is constrained by the financial reality and someone is constrained by an emotional reality. You're trying to merge that together and maybe the ability to create a persona that says evaluate in the terms, give me the he and her. What are they going to say in terms of this project? Where are they going to be constrained or and it's just a vector. That's all. It's not going to be right or wrong. You're still going to meet with a client on some cadence and then maybe you'll get closer.
You know, I've done some Chat GPT client analysis. And you can't always trust it, but I think it was helpful. And it was an exchange, an email exchange. So I was able to kind of load in the whole conversation and just trying to understand if this client is being sincere or trying to play a game with me.
Okay.
And it was a pretty interesting kind of analysis and breakdown and how it thought about and explaining based on what I'm hearing here. This client's being sincere and has legitimate concerns and is not necessarily just trying to take advantage of you and get a better deal.
Right.
And I don't know how else, without having a conversation with 5 different people that would have different opinions on it subjectively, how to get to a real objective. And I don't even know why it mattered, necessarily, because I honestly, the right move is probably just to have a conversation with the client to be like, I don't know if you're being sincere about this or you're trying to take advantage of me. But it was interesting to kind of see the level of analysis that it was able to do. And then, we do disc profiles for all of our employees. So we have personality profiles. So we can also talk to them about talk to GPT based on their personality profile. This is a situation that I find myself in. What is the best way to address it? And it knows all of that stuff.
It's to your point, it's not a right or wrong answer. It's a vector. For me, it's just a vector. Before I have conversations with companies, whether it's a sales cycle or a private meeting, I'll ask Grok, I need an executive summary of this company. You can actually do executive summaries of individuals. If you have their LinkedIn profile and the social media profiles, like give me an Ocean profile based on this person and how they might respond to a sales cycle. How should I approach them from the standpoint of a sales issue? But I'll ask about the company's business, how many employees, annual revenue. Are there any compelling events? Is the company in an acquisition cycle? Are they in a downturn cycle? And I want to get all of that information so that I have more context to have a meaningful discussion. Like, am I pushing a rope to try to sell a piece of software, or do they need a different approach to what their business is going through at that moment? Do they need more flexibility with their software because they're in acquisitions? They're in an acquisition phase right now and they're growing like crazy and they have to be able to predict their spend. It's not trying to sell something to make money. It's trying to solve the problem to take their stress away, and people will give you money to take their stress away. That's all it is. It's like, I'm delegating my stress. Can you help me figure this out? So I just need more information to figure it out. And I'll use Croc for that all the time. The thing I think it's hard about AI is, well, why we're in a hype cycle is because, to your point, we are pattern recognition machines. And in stress mode, we go back to patterns because, like, we're judging AI through our present paradigm of what do I do now and how can I do it differently or faster or better or more efficiently with AI. We're not looking at it like a new paradigm of having 20 billion people in your pocket that can help you think about something or answer a question. And so right now what we're doing with it is the stuff that we already do. We're just doing it faster or differently. I think that the hard part for us is we don't think to ask it questions, because during your day, your internal monologue, like the thing that a lot of us don't have staff. We might have some people that we manage, but we don't have thousands of people at our beck and call to do things for us. So we don't think to ask Grok or ChatGPT these kinds of questions that we could delegate. And once we get used to that, I think that's when the bit flips.
Yeah.
So we're just not used. People have always had this. But not very many people. It was the king, it was the prince, it was it's called staff. So these people had staff, and the staff would drive them places, and the staff would make their food, and the staff would clean up after them. And now what I think we're seeing, which is, again, we're looking at the technology through our present paradigm, but the ability for cars to drive you places. We've always had that. If you were really, really rich, you had staff, or a couple hundred years ago, you had your own private salon car, and they'd hook it up to the rest of the train and take you across the country. Rich people didn't drive because they leveraged their time doing something else, and someone else drove them because it was a better use of their time. With self-driving vehicles, I would not enjoy driving 85 miles an hour. The Tesla drives me 85 miles an hour, and I'm having conference calls on Zoom, and I'm thinking about things, and I'm making notes, and I'm doing other tasks, and I'm more relaxed. If I could have a NASCAR driver next to me and they're driving and I'm thinking and chatting and on the phone, I would happily do that. Right. And right now, the maximum speed for self-driving in a Tesla is 85 miles an hour. And you wouldn't believe how relaxing it is. So when this
are you self-driving right now on this podcast?
No, I could be. There's a podcast, awesome. And it's a labor of love. There's not a lot of listeners called Tech in Teslas on YouTube. And I'm in Holden Beach, and I pick people up and I start self-driving to a restaurant, 30 minutes away. And we chat about some technical thing. And I've had, and the car drives us there. It took me a little time to trust it, because you don't know, like, is the car like a teenager and you got to be ready to take over the wheel, or is it actually going to get you there? It's at the point now where I would rather, Charlotte to Atlanta, 3 hours, maybe 4 hours. I would rather get in the car and let it drive. It's more relaxing. But I've done podcasts and phone calls where the phone magnet clips to the top of the screen, and it's just like this, and this scene's moving behind me, and we're just having a chat. Come down. You're in Raleigh. Come down to Holden Beach. We'll do Tech and Teslas. It'll be fun. I'm in. We'll go for barbecue somewhere. But so the major point here is that I used to kind of kick back against this idea that we'd all have robots. It's like, I don't need robots in my house. I want to uncommunicate, I don't want things to be complicated. And I realized, wait a minute, I got a microwave, I got an oven, I got a computer, I got a vacuum. All these things are robots anyway, but it's not as ubiquitous. So the thing is, we look at the car and go, oh, self-driving, now you don't have to drive. It's like, no. Now you can send your car to bring your package back to Whole Foods to drop off the Amazon thing that didn't fit. And then I can go do something else that's more interesting or more valuable. Or I could drive to the airport and send the car back home. I don't want it sitting back at the airport and paying $30 a day for parking.
Can you do that?
No, not yet. But there's something called summon. You have to be within a couple 100 feet of the car. You push the button and hold it on your phone. And the car will come to you. Now, what I'm understanding is you'll be able to get in the car, and if it's raining, drop you off at the front of the store and go find a park, and then come back to me when you're done. Now, what's the distance on that? What's the range? I think get out of the car at the airport and push go home, and it'll go home. And my grandkids will think that's how it's always been. It's amazing, relaxing. Now people kind of go, I had a bit of range anxiety at first, but I'm 60 years old this year, Dave. I don't mind stopping every 3 hours for a coffee and go to the restroom. By the time I come out, 15 minutes, the car's, back to 80% charged, which is about 250 miles. The thing that I haven't gotten used to is how quiet and peaceful it is. It's like you're in your space bubble, and it's like wearing noise canceling headphones and you're going down the road. The biggest criticism is the cars are expensive. Not that much more expensive, but I don't know. I don't know how much is a new car typically. Like 40 grand.
They're all expensive now.
Okay. Yeah. Well, the thing is,
$10,000 cars anymore.
You don't imagine. I think where they're going to upset the industry is not that they're making a car that's electric. They're making a car where two people that live together and have two cars, because they each go in separate directions during the day, are going to be able to get by with one car. Because it'll drop me off, it'll drop you off, and then it'll go back to me and park, or it'll go home to park.
Yeah, you can just make all our loops.
It'll just go make the loop. And that part of it, I don't think we've gotten our heads around yet. So we're still looking at the car like a self-driving, like it's a chauffeur, but looking at the car like, I needed to go pick something up. I needed to go drop something off. I needed to run an errand for me. We haven't got to that yet. So,
Phil, this has been awesome, man. We ran way long, and I know you rambled. I know, but it's great. It's like we could just keep going, and I always joke about it because I always go long, so it's kind of like a thing. It's like we could just Joe Rogan it. Let's just do one of those like 8-hour sessions.
Okay, but I will mention this. There are some things we're not going to talk about that. It's third rail. The thing I like about Joe Rogan is not the controversy. I like that he has long form discussions. Yeah. We haven't had time for that. It was all sound bites and enough controversy just before the commercial break to get you to sit through the commercial break for the next controversy. And I hate that kind of artificial urgency. I'll be honest, like it fucks me off. I hate listening to the news in the background when they go, school bus accident, details at 11. I'm like, fuck you. If it's that important, just tell me what's going on. So that's why I eventually just turn off the TV. And the thing about Joe Rogan is, in spite of all the controversy and the politics, he has long form discussions with people. And he'll hold their feet to the fire a bit. It's like, I like he did a long conversation with Mark Andreessen, the founder of, Netscape? Smart guy, long form discussion. I learned a lot. Yeah. Love it. Dan Carlin, Hardcore History, 5-hour podcasts in a series of 5-hour podcasts about a historic event, long form discussions. So we're no longer constrained by 30 minutes with 10 minutes of commercials. It's great.
Well, kind of the impetus for this, and I think people, the three people that watch or listen, which is my mom, and then maybe a couple of my employees, has always been,
hey, Dave's mom. So you're not ready to quit your job and sell advertising?
No. It's something that I thought about doing for a while because I live stream my kids' hockey games. And so I'm kind of used to doing it. And then I've been on a bunch of podcasts. And then during COVID, I had conversations with so many people that I used to work with because we didn't have anything to do. And we just have these great Zoom calls. And it was really fun just to catch up. And we'd always joke like, this should be a podcast.
This should be a thing.
It's interesting.
That's why we started Cars and Coffee. Carrie Thompson from New Zealand. We're having a chat and like, this should be a podcast because Carrie's like a super smart guy. And I don't think it's about listenership, Dave. The reason that you keep doing this is because it goes up on the internet. And it's not that necessarily someone's going to find this podcast and listen to all the episodes, but it's going to be part of the collective consciousness that when someone asks a question in the future, it's going to go bloop, 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 bloop. And this is part of that collective historic consciousness. That's why we will do this. And why we should do it. You go, oh, but I'm not getting a lot of listeners. I don't know. Yeah. It exists. Put it out there. Do something. Turn the TV off. Have a conversation. Try to get to the essence of an idea. Get beyond the soundbite. And it becomes part of that important future. I think in a way, and this again, back to Brian Romali on Twitter, this is creating a kind of wisdom keeper because it's part of that essence. You know, if we just train AI based on sludge, you're going to get sludge back. But if you allow AI to, or whatever the buzzword is, if you allow it to query deeper, thoughtful discussions, that's valuable. And so you're not doing it for you; you're doing it for your great grandkids.
Yep,
just you.
And if it is finding authentic information to build its database, that's more value.
Yeah, maybe there's some snippet in here. Some graduate of architecture school who's borrowed $60,000 a year for 4 years and they're out of school now with a irrecoverable debt. Maybe there's one little piece in there that they go, I should turn off the TV. I should buy a $100 espresso maker and put it on my desk. I should not spend $4, $5 a day on coffee walking into the office. That's it's an irrecoverable debt I have. I have to get out from underneath it. Like the thing for coffee to me is like, I don't buy coffee out unless I'm having a meeting with someone because it's $5. And he goes, oh, it's $5. It's no big deal. No, it's the cost opportunity of what is that $5 worth in 20, 30 years? So for the architecture student out there, if your parents hadn't bought a $400 iPod and they'd put $400 into Apple stock in 2001, you'd probably have $250,000 now. So it's not a $5 coffee.
Don't say that's not fair. That just makes us all feel bad. I know it's true. No. It's 100% true.
Yeah. Because Apple took off. Apple created a walled garden. They created an ecosystem where from grandkids to grandparents could use this little touchy thing. If I invested $400 when the iPod first came out into Apple stock, what would that be worth now? Presuming I reinvested the dividends.
Yeah, I mean, it's legit.
Yeah, so don't buy $5 coffees because it's not a $5 coffee. It's a $100 coffee. And who would spend $100 on coffee?
And I don't think it's ever a bad time to buy Apple stock.
Apple stock's been good. You know, there's a Magnificent Seven. We don't, if anything, architecture school, maybe it's changed in the last, since I graduated. It didn't teach you to be a good steward of your time. You just worked tirelessly and then had a crit. And we have one professional practice. We had no classes on investing, no classes on owning businesses, no classes on, we should have had investment classes in architecture school. There's not just economics, but actually like studious investing. And you're like, we could keep
last week I had Eric Schlickman, who I worked with at Getch Partners. He went to Kansas Architecture School, did
KU?
Yeah, did the Studio 804, just awesome. And we talked about like the value that we got from that kind of crazy experience. And I went to Virginia Tech, which, similar Bauhaus 5-year programs. Right. And then he bought a deli at some point and now he owns 5 restaurants.
Totally.
And sorry. Oh, you have the answer?
Yeah, I went to Grok because ChatGPT gave me websites and I just wanted the quick answer. Sorry.
So it's interesting talking about. We had a lot of the similar conversation on the things that we kind of missed in architecture school, but also what was really valuable, which taught us that we have the ability to learn any tool, and if we really, put in the 10,000 hours kind of things, you can be, a specialist of something. But they teach you a very generalist kind of mentality, and being a jack of all trades, and having a general understanding of stuff. And one thing I felt like we didn't learn, and I didn't even realize until probably 5 years ago, is they never taught me how to sell. And part of selling as an architect or any designer is
Yeah.
understanding the client's needs, pain points, and actually writing the program, because you're always handed a program. And I felt like that was something that no one would even think about.
Persuasion,
you don't think about
is
in your
the whole
career.
thing.
Yeah,
Like the whole art
it's all
of
sales.
persuasion and the art of, there's a subtlety to solving problems. It's not just walls, doors, and windows. There's an emotional component, like the psychology of that. And I feel like we don't, the speed at which education occurs it can't accommodate all of that. Architecture should be, architecture school could take much less time, but the process of learning could be much longer. And I've actually encouraged students, don't go to architecture school after you graduate high school, work for a firm and study something else, and then just do your 2-year master's degree. Because it's such a time vampire. Get something unrelated. Go get your background in, I don't know, computer engineering, and then go get and do that while you're working for a firm part-time while you're in school, learning how to use the tools. And then when you're done with that, take your portfolio and apply for a graduate program. You'll get in, and then you'll graduate without any debt. Work part-time, learn how practice works, and then go to your master's degree, which I think is a 2 or 3 year program. It's just it's a business. Architecture is a business. So asking, as artists, we may not like to be conflict oriented, but you have to chase people for money if you're going to be in business.
Turns out.
Like, who likes chasing people for money? Yeah. It's an awkward conversation. But if you like to do it, I think that's why actually my understanding is that's why there's a plethora of acronym firms with 3 letters. This person knew how to design, this person knew how to document manage, and this person knew how to sell and chase money. And that's why there is all these firms with 3 or 4 letters in them, because of that talent stack.
Phil, I gotta let you go, man, and I gotta run to a job site. But you're headed to Sydney.
Get on an airplane.
What's going on? How long is that flight?
22 hours, Q1 briefings every year. I go over and tell people what's here and coming in Enscape. It's getting a little wider now because there's Enscape, Envision, Veris, and Impact. So I'll go to Sydney for a week, and then I'll go to Wellington for a week, and then I'll go to Auckland for 2 weeks, and back to Sydney for 3 weeks. Also going to the Digital Built Conference that's going to be in Sydney, and then go to Singapore for 3 weeks. Come back the 7th of April, and then go to Holden Beach to pack up the e-foils and all my stuff to go down to Florida for the Best Practice Roundtable event that we hold in North Florida in the spring. So that's look, at least that's the plan right now.
No wonder you don't have time. No wonder you don't have time to watch any TV.
Who watches TV, man? I really talked to Dave.
Phil, thanks for doing this, man. Especially as you're embarking on your travels and everything. People want to learn more about you and find you. What's the best spot?
I don't know. LinkedIn, Twitter. I've got an Instagram page, but I only post sunsets, sunrises. If they connect to me on LinkedIn, there's my email address and phone number. I'll have a chat if I can help. And
awesome. All right, you might be hearing from my mom.
And I hope to see you down in. My son's an architect. What do I do? Yeah, no, I'm serious. Come down to Holden Beach. We'll do a tech and Teslas. You can let the kids go feral at the beach, and we'll go get lunch. We'll go get barbecue somewhere and have a chat. Talk about technology.
Let's do it.
Have you been in a Tesla yet? Have you been in a self-driving car?
I've rode in a self-driving one of our, and I have an electric car, but it's not a Tesla. It's a long story. Right. So I love the electric.
I forgive you. It's okay.
Tesla has the best tech, hands down. But at the time, you couldn't get them. And one of the dads on my kid's hockey team, he's like, "Here, come with me. We're going to go to self-driving." And this would have been 3 years ago. And I got in that thing, and he went on Capitol Boulevard if you know Capitol Boulevard in Raleigh at like 5:30 in the evening, is just chaos. And like the road's all torn up. It's not marked very well. And that car, I mean, it did fine. We didn't die, but I was a little terrified. Like, can we just
you don't know if you should trust it or not.
Here's
the thing. I'll explain it. It's not a car. It's an iPad with wheels. And if you ever remember going into the Apple store and going, I'm not going to buy one. I just want to see it. I want to see what all the hype is. Well, I don't want to buy one, but I'm just going to touch it. I'm not going to buy one, but oh, fuck, I bought one. Yeah. So I'm telling you, it's a slippery slope. I was just like, I am not buying a new car. I can't justify it. I'm not cashing out stock to buy a Tesla. And it's like, yeah, you should just go test drive one. It's like touching an iPad. And it's an iPad with wheels. They've integrated Grok now. You can push the button and go, I need to go here, and I want to stop halfway at a Starbucks near a supercharger. It's crazy. So, yeah, I keep trying to let you stop. I should just good to chat. Good to chat yesterday. Yeah. Thanks, Dave. Reach out anytime you guys have any support issues. I like
and we'll get a crazy roundtable going of the old Chicago Loop Revit user group from 2002. We'll get Brad and Andre. That would be really fun. Talk about Andre. I remember he created the most complicated light switch family I've ever seen. I was like, man, it was beautiful.
Oh yeah. It just crashed your file. It's like 10,000.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of It's crazy how many different permutations there can be of a light switch and the quantity of light switch. It's there's a lot of permutations, and so when you really build that out, horizontal ones, and anyway, it was something else. Probably unnecessary, but I was inspired.
Diminished returns.
Maker culture.
Yeah, sometimes the AI is do this automatic thing for me. Sometimes the AI is, hey, intern, do this thing for me. And you just have to find out which one, because the intern does do a better job of understanding us. Do get annoyed with AI when you go, okay, do this thing. Well, I didn't ask you to undo the other thing. Just do this thing.
Oh, I get so angry at AI sometimes.
Yeah.
But I can't yell at my intern like that. I can yell.
Oh, no, it doesn't take long before you say the F word to AI. It's
you're like,
really
this
seriously?
Is not right at all.
I got to let you go. Sorry, Dave. All right, buddy.
No,
let's chat again. I'll be back in April.
Absolutely, man. Safe travels. Enjoy the other hemisphere where the toilet goes in the opposite direction. Is that true?
Yes, and it's also warm.
And it is warm. Oh yeah,
I'm going to start in Wellington and work and just follow the season right up to Singapore, where it's summer every day. But there's amazing projects, amazing customers, beautiful work, and the best part, like you said, these conversations you guys would have during COVID. I'm going to learn something that wasn't part of what I planned, because we're going to have a chat over dinner. People loosen up when they trust each other. You don't need alcohol. And someone's going to mention something and you're going to go, ding. That's an interesting thought. That's an interesting idea. So that's why I go in person, to just do this. But serendipity, those conversations. Two people can have three ideas. You wouldn't have expected it. All right, man, let's really do it. We got to go.
I can't wait to hear what you learn. We'll talk soon. Thanks again, Phil. Safe travels, man.
Thanks, buddy.
All right.
Bye.